So I want to talk to you guys about deceivers and liars and how they work. One thing that I have noticed over the years is that people will exaggerate specifics if it is an advantage to them, or they will generalize specifics, or they will take a specific and then drown that specific in generalizations in order to make that specific fact irrelevant. This is how deceivers work. So if you bring up a specific fact that disproves their position, they take that specific fact and then drown it in generalizations in order to make that specific fact seem irrelevant. That's how these people work. So if I say, hey, look, here's an officer who saved a child's life, the police officer or a team of police officers saved a group of kids who were being sex trafficked. It's a specific story, but nonetheless, it shows how cops are healthy for a society, how they benefit to the welfare of the society. And you will have people respond with things like, oh, well, that was actually a community undertaking. The community was involved in that operation. The police were working with the FBI and the people and locals, and it wasn't the police. So I brought up a specific that, hey, look, these police officers are rescuing these kids who are being sex trafficked, and they're rescuing these kids from sex traffickers. Wow, look, here are these officers taking these kids out of the house. And then what they do is they bring up generalities. They bring up these generalizations. Well, the community was involved. So they just took the specific fact, hey, look, cops are rescuing kids from sex traffickers, and then they drown it in generalizations. Well, the community was involved, the FBI was involved. Well, we know those factors are involved. We know that the community was involved. But again, what exactly does that mean? The community was involved. Everybody was involved. It's a generalization, but they try to drown a specific in a generalization in order to make that specific seem irrelevant. Now, if a specific fact confronts these people and disproves their position, then they have to resort to generalizations. That's how these people work. But if a specific fact is advantageous to them, maybe it's a piece of circumstantial evidence that they can take and make their position appear stronger. They will take that specific fact and then exaggerate it. And that exaggeration becomes the truth. That exaggeration, which is really, an exaggeration is just a twisted fact. It's a fact that they twist and manipulate in order to make that, it advantageous for them. But by then, it's not really a fact. It's a twisted fact. It's like saying it's a half-truth. Well, a half-truth isn't a truth. It's a lie. It's actually just a very well put-together lie. The most effective liars are the people who can mix enough truth to make you believe the lie that they insert amidst the truth. It's like that scene in The Exorcist when the priest is about to exorcise the possessed girl, and the older priest comes and says, the devil is a liar. He will mix truth with lies in order to deceive us. The attack is very, very psychological, Damien. And it's a very good movie, and it conveys this truth in a very articulate and beautiful way. That's why I love the film The Exorcist. A very good liar is someone who can take the truth and manipulate it. Now, if I walk up to you and I say, hey, I shot Osama bin Laden. I'm the Navy SEAL who did it. You're just going to look at me and be like, no, you're just some Middle Eastern looking dude who is obviously full of crap. That's what you're going to say. Because it's obvious that I'm not a Navy SEAL. Just look at me. Do I look like a Navy SEAL to you? Obviously not. That's not how these people work. That's not how a good liar works. A good liar is going to give you a lie, but he's going to mix it with so much truth that you're going to believe it. The best liars are the ones that can give you a statement or that can give you a story or some sort of rhetoric that is majority fact, but with just enough of a lie to get you to be deceived and to get you to be enslaved to their deception. Because lying at the end of the day is just a way of domination. It's a way to dominate people. How do I control people? How do I manipulate people? Well, I have to give them lies. How do I get people to be under my control? I have to give them lies. I have to tell them that they have to do this certain thing or else this is going to happen. The world's going to end, etc., etc. Because someone who doesn't want to control you is not going to lie to you. But someone who wants you to give them your money or to give them whatever it is that they want from you, they're going to tell you everything you want to hear or anything that could somehow persuade you to get you to do what they want you to do. But people who don't want to control you will not lie to you. So liars are really just control freaks, and that's another thing that I've realized is that all evil, all evil is about control, and people who want to control are not happy with themselves. They're not. They're not happy with themselves, so they feel that they have to control people so that they can feel good about themselves. Like, look, I got these people to do this for me. But when you're happy with yourself, you really, the last thing you want to do is control people. The last thing you want to do is tell people what to do. You're happy with your life. You're happy with who you are. You're settled with who you are. But that's how these people work. And it's the best example of what I'm talking about is found in the New Testament, in the trial of Christ. Yes, Christ spoke of a kingdom. He did. He spoke of a kingdom. He made it very clear that he is the Son of God and that he is the King of the kingdom of heaven. He is Christ the King. He spoke of the kingdom of God. The Jewish leaders in the trial, what did they do? They went to Pilate and they said, he says that he's a king, and he therefore wants to subvert the Roman government. So what did they do? They took a specific, the specific in this case is Christ spoke of a kingdom. And then they twisted it. They exaggerated it. They said, he speaks of a kingdom. Therefore, he wants to replace the Roman government. That's the twisting of a fact. They, because it was a mob, they exaggerated what Christ said in order to persuade Pilate to have Christ executed. Wicked people are very good at exaggerating things. Luis Companys in Catalonia in the first half of the 20th century was a master exaggerator. Spain is evil. The Spanish government is evil. We must revolt. Have Catalonia revolt against Spain. The Catalonians revolted. They formed their own state. And then what happened? Luis Companys butchered tens of thousands of innocent people simply because they opposed his far left regime. People were killed in Luis Companys' Catalonia for simply saying prayers in Latin, for simply taking Latin lessons from the Catholic Church. People were killed for that. Oh, he's a Catholic. He's a fascista. He's a fascist. Fascist. Die. He died now. Luis Companys exaggerated things, but the reality was that he was the exaggeration that he accused Spain of being. Spain is a tyrant. Exaggeration. He's the tyrant. So when these people make exaggerations regarding whoever it is that they hate, or whatever it is that they hate, they are that exaggeration. So you have people who say, oh, the government of America, it's so tyrannical. The police, they're just killing people for no reason at all. Exaggeration. They find a story of a cop killing somebody. Oh, you see, these are all cops. Cops are this way. All the cops, they're just killers. They just want to shoot black people. That's lying. That's exaggeration. But the reality is that the people who make up those exaggerations, they are that exaggeration. They want to kill people. They are tyrants. They're the mass murderers. The French revolutionaries. Oh, the king is so evil. The king is this monarch. He's this dictator. He's horrible. Exaggeration. The king is a tyrant. Exaggeration. Rebels take over. They butcher hundreds of thousands of people. They are the exaggeration. Bashar al-Assad is an evil tyrant. Rebels take over. They kill thousands of people. They are the exaggeration. Erdogan accuses Bashar al-Assad of being a tyrant. Erdogan then proceeds to invade northern Syria and bomb civilians. He is the exaggeration. Oh, and by the way, Erdogan denies that a genocide actually took place. And when people deny genocides, it's because they want to repeat that genocide. People who say, oh, the Armenian genocide never happened. Those people hate Armenians. And they would kill 1 million Armenians again if they had the chance. Same thing goes with Holocaust deniers, people who say that the Volhynia massacre never took place. Volhynia massacre being when Ukrainian nationalists butchered 100,000 Polish civilians. And they are people who deny that this actually took place. Oh no, Ukrainian nationalists, they never killed all those Polish people. That's just a lie. Those people are filled with hatred. They are the exaggeration. They are the exaggeration. Oh, it never happened. Those people are liars. They're the liars. Oh, it never happened. You see, what was going on was that those people who were killed, they were all really terrorists. They're the terrorists. The people who are making those accusations, they're the terrorists. So that's how these things work. If they are confronted with a specific fact, they will try to drown out that fact with generalizations. And if they find a specific fact that somehow supports their position, they exaggerate that specific in order to make that into the totality of reality, into the whole reality. Oh, here's a cop who killed someone wrongfully. But then you find out that the cop killed that person by accident. Oh, cops are killing innocent people now. You see? They take a fact and then they exaggerate it. All cops are this way. Cops are terrorists. Cops are tyrants. And the people who are making those accusations, they are the tyrants. Because a government literally cannot survive without using force. It's literally impossible for a government to survive without using force. Because at times the government has to use force on people who are a threat to the authority of the state. Criminals, subversives, terrorists, all these people are threats to the state. They are a threat to the authority of the state. Because when you kill people, you're breaking the law. Therefore, you are disrespecting authority. And you have to be put away. So societies cannot survive without violence. But violence must be done in a controlled manner and for a good purpose. That is why the state has a monopoly on violence. So to say that the state is tyrannical because it commits violence is basically saying that the state has no right to exist. You are essentially calling for a revolution when you say that the state has no right to inflict violence or to inflict force in some manner. So to say that the state has no right to do that is taking away its right to exist, because the state really no longer exists without its monopoly on violence. So therefore, the people who are making these sorts of complaints, they simply want to do a revolution to replace the government and take over. And those people will actually be more tyrannical than the state that they're complaining about. And history just continuously demonstrates this, be it the French Revolution, Mexican Revolution, Catalonian Revolution, Bolshevik Revolution. Those people who complain about a legitimate government who isn't doing anything to them, a government that isn't going out of its way to kill innocent people, a government that isn't putting people in concentration camps, those people who complain about such a government, those people are evil. Because if they get their revolution, they're only going to bring instability and violence. And if they take over, because they already have that warped mind, they're going to be absolute murderous despots. Another example is the anti-police sentiment that we have been seeing trending lately. They will say, oh, look, this cop killed somebody. Okay, and what's your point? Well, cops are killing people. I mean, cops are murderers. That's an exaggeration. Cops do kill people. Cops kill people all the time. I think 1,000 people are killed by cops every year in the United States. Cops kill people all the time. But why do they kill people? They kill people for a purpose. Oh, no, cops are killing people. Or here's another example that I have seen, especially on the internet. All the weird stuff happens on the internet before it actually fully manifests itself, before they fully manifest themselves in the public view. When someone gets arrested, when a cop arrests somebody, be it for driving under the influence, drunk driving, you got drugs on you, you're a murderer, you're a rapist, whatever. When a cop arrests somebody, he slaps the handcuffs on the person, and then he puts the person in a cop car and drives him off. Well, that's kidnapping. No, it's not. It's an arrest. It's kidnapping because you took this person out of their home, you slapped handcuffs on the person. That's like a kidnapper tying someone's hands behind their back. And then you put them in the back of a car and you drove them off. That's kidnapping. Well, that's not kidnapping. No, it is, because you took that person away, you put them in a car, you forced them to at the point of a gun, and then you just took them off. Took them to a place and you put them behind bars like a caged animal. It does appear like kidnapping, right? I mean, if a person who wasn't a police officer did that, they would be charged with kidnapping. So the actions of the officer in arresting someone, once you take away the badge, yeah, technically it is kidnapping. I mean, if it's just a regular civilian who's doing everything that a cop does, taking someone out of the home, slapping handcuffs on the person, putting them in the back of a vehicle, driving them off. Yeah, it does appear like kidnapping, but it's not. So what do these people do? They exaggerate things. Yeah, sure, they arrest people, but it's not kidnapping. That's an exaggeration. It's like this Norman Finkelstein guy. Norman Finkelstein is this writer who's always attacking the state of Israel. You can criticize Israel, you can criticize any country, but the criticism should always be legitimate, and it should always be based on facts. It's not really remarkable for someone to say that, but for some reason, people want exaggerations more than they do anything else. And there is a video of Finkelstein talking about how Palestinians are all living in a concentration camp, and that the way that Israel controls the Palestinian territories, it's like a big concentration camp, and all the IDF soldiers, they're all concentration camp guards. And it's like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Palestinian people, what? They're eating falafel? They're partying all the time. They're dancing on the streets. Like, it's not a concentration camp. Now, it is true that Israel does have control over Gaza. Israel does have control over the West Bank to a certain extent. I mean, it did put a giant roadblock around the West Bank and affected greatly its economy. That's true. But it's not a concentration camp. And Palestinians are doing fine. No one's starving to death in the West Bank. It's an exaggeration. Do you see how it works? It's all exaggeration. So, anyway, those are my thoughts on that subject. You guys just heard some theology. God bless.